Billy writes in though, and this brings us to obviously the inevitable who's going to replace Critchley. I'd have Derek McInnes at Tiny in a heartbeat, not the prettiest football, but he'd make us hard to beat and an absolute nightmare to play against. He'd make us competitive again. I think we can see the odds actually for the next Hearts manager as well. Derek McInnes is the evens favourite. I mean, even Robbie Nielsen's in there, Stephen Robinson as well. Pilcher, who would is any of those names strike you as the man to make Hearts great again?
I can see the argument for Derek McInnes purely based on the circumstances Hearts are in just now. They should be third, fourth, fighting for European places, going deep in the cups. Mm-hmm. Derek McInnes, he's been there with Aberdeen. It went a bit stale at the end, but he knows what it takes at a club where there's expectation. He knows how to build a squad, and he knows what's needed in this league. That's maybe something Hearts have been missing a bit. It might not be the most exciting, but it's exciting what Hearts need right now. I think they need to get back to their kind of base level of where Robbie Nielsen had them. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's going to be Robbie Nielsen. I'm a big Robbie Nielsen fan. You look at his record, he's easily the best Hearts manager they've had since Anne Budge came in. He's finished. He's won 2 championships when he was asked to. He's never finished lower than third in a full season, and he only got sacked after maybe a six game bad run. They slipped to fourth, got rid of him to try and finish third, and they didn't do that anyway. So I thought he was harshly treated. I don't think it is going to be him. I wouldn't be against it. I could see the argument for him against somebody like Stephen Robinson. Not knocking what Stephen Robinson done with St Mirren. 3 years in the top 6 is a good achievement, but that's, you've seen the celebrations at St Mirren. That's a bonus. Maybe it's getting away from a bonus now because they're doing it consistently, but that's a bare minimum somewhere at Hearts. So the floor at Hearts is higher, if that makes sense.
I see what you mean.
And if you're going to look at somebody like Stephen Robinson, then I think it's unpopular to be Nielsen would be the head of him, but I think McInnes would probably tick more boxes. Kim Hellberg's on there. I think he was linked last time, although Swansea City made an approach for him the other week and were knocked back. So he might be out of Hearts' reach, and you need to take into account what Hearts are going to be able to afford. These I saw Mick talking about sexy scandies on the show last night, which I hope he's not been googling on his reach PLC. But
he knows all about sexy scandies.
I was going to say he almost certainly has.
Yeah, but these guys are probably more expensive than you think. And Hearts have got the foundation of Hearts cash coming in, but you're not going to have European money next year. They're missing out on the league place, their competition prize money for the league placings. So it's not as if they can just go out and spend whatever they want to get whoever they want. My understanding is that they're not ruling anyone out, but the preference this time might be for a domestic-based candidate. Whether they can go and get Derek McInnes, I don't think that would happen before the end of the season. I don't think Kilmarnock would sanction that in the summer. Maybe we'll see. But there's a strong argument for it. I can see why it would make sense.
The other one, Pilch, the name that Keith Jackson brought up, I think it was on Sunday's show. Was that it was his understanding that Stephen Pressley was quite keen on coming in. I don't know if he meant for a kind of Sam Allardyce role to the end of the season, but he's got a bit of baggage with Hearts, doesn't he? I mean, would he be welcomed back at Tynecastle?
Listen, there's some Hearts fans that recognise he was a good captain for the club, don't have a problem. Some are indifferent. A few still do not like him for the old chest thumping. I know Keith said they had a connection with the Hearts fans, but a lot of them it's not really a good one these days. I'm sure they would be keen to come back up, but I don't see. He's been out the management for a wee bit. He's got a nice cushy job at Brentford, and I don't think Hearts are going to appoint anyone before the end of the season, especially if it's a domestic candidate. I think it's likely it's going to be Liam Fox if he gets some, the points he needs, and they're not worrying about getting dragged into this fight for 11th properly. Maybe, but I think it's more likely in the summer. But I'd be surprised if Stephen Pressley was in the running.
Green Machine says Scott Brown. Can you see that happening somehow? We can look actually at the fixtures for the weekend. Hearts, Scott are away to Ross County. I mean that looks like a really, really tricky game.
I know, massive game. You've got to feel for Liam Fox getting thrown in at this stage of the season when they're desperately need to get points to stay clear of that relegation playoff. I agree with mostly everything that Ross said there. The only thing I'd add to it is, and he'll know better than me, I just think Hearts need a big personality as a manager. I just think they're a massive club. In Scottish terms, a demanding crowd, there's pressure, there's expectation. And I don't think Neil Critchley handled that Well, I mean, again, a really nice guy, and I enjoyed interviewing him a few times that we did. I don't doubt he's a very good coach, but a bit like Ross, when he came in, I just thought, is he really a Hearts manager? Is that really what that crowd need? I think if you're talking about Derek McInnes, then he ticks a lot of those boxes. So he would be a decent fit. The only other thing I was going to say, and I'm purely playing devil's advocate here, but I'm interested to know what Ross says about it, is you look at what's happened with David Gray at Hibs. Hibs sticking by him when it looked as if he was like one game away, one Rocky Bashiri goal away maybe for getting the sack. I mean, when you look back now, could they have stuck with Naismith? Could it have turned round eventually, or do you think it just went past the point of no return?
I think, given how bad the start was, Hearts' worst ever start to certainly a Premiership season, possibly a top flight season, I think they'd come to a point where they had to make that decision. Had they kept Stephen Naismith, I was thinking about this other day, would he have ultimately ended up doing any worse than Neil Critchley? I don't know. He at least had a bit of a track record and a bit of credit in the bank from the previous season. He used it up pretty quickly. I think in hindsight, you could have maybe said, okay, let's stick with him. Hibs must have seen something in David Gray or some sort of evidence. I don't think they were too far away from picking up points in the games they went winning at the start of the season. I think with Hearts, it started okay and it just didn't look like it was going to get better. So they had to pull the trigger. It's an interesting one. I think the chances are probably maybe would have done about as well as Neil Critchley did. I guess we'll never know.
Aye. Well, I think we can see the bottom six table going into the game at the weekend. And look, I think Hearts, you look at that, they're probably, one win away from safety. But until they get that one, Pouch, it's pretty nerve-wracking.
They were 1 win away for the top six, didn't get it. And you go back to the season Hibs went down, I think from about February onwards under Terry Butcher, they'll only need one win. Never came.
That's right. That's a good point, aye.
And then they ended up in the playoff and the first Premiership team to lose it. So it's all very well saying, they just need 3 points. Do they look like getting the 3 points? For what it's worth, I think they will they'll do enough to stay away from 11th. I think the other teams below them will cut each other's throats. I saw Jacko taking about 6 minutes to go through his predicted results to finally get to the point where Hearts finish 11. I'm not saying it can't happen. If they don't win on Saturday, I think if they lose on Saturday, they're in deep trouble of it. I'd be surprised if they finish there, but they need to get a win on the board quick.
What do you think, Scott? Do you think they'll do enough to avoid 11th?
I think they probably will. But just like Ross is saying, I mean, before last week, I would have said, they'll be fine. They'll win a game, win a couple of games. But that Dundee game at home is a shocker. I mean, Jacko actually flagged it up on the hotline.
I did predict it.
Saying it was precarious, and I just thought, no, at Tynecastle, I mean, at home to Dundee, knowing you need to get a result, I was amazed by that scoreline and the performance for Hearts. But I suppose, follows on for the performance at Fir Park when they had to go and try and get the win to get top six. It wasn't the fact that they couldn't get the victory. It was the standard of performance was so poor, and that's just carried on. So that does worry me.